Recording in progress.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svaparandikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Saganaragunatan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Kupesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya eva cha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashattarishtarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Kadadar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribol. So welcome to the reading session. Today we continue with Dialectic Spiritualism. What was the chapter? Alexander chapter. So I'll read the first page and then we can change so everyone can read. Haribol. Shama Sundar Das. But is that distance within me, or does my mind actually... Oh, we read this. Shama Sundar Das. But Alexander thinks the evolution is moving in this way, progressing from inorganic life to organic to mental and to demigod. Prabhupada, how can life come from inorganic matter? That is nonsense. What evidence do we have that life is developing from inorganic matter? If that is the case, why don't they manufacture life in the laboratory? Living force can be produced from matter. Matter is different from living force or soul. Of course, in one sense, they are both the energy of God, but categorically, they are different. You cannot even manufacture an ant. You may have all the chemicals, but you cannot inject the soul. The soul appears in different ways. For instance, fermentation, perspiration. When rock and water decompose, there may be fermentation, and it may be possible that the soul takes advantage of this and comes out, being born in some form, in some life form. In any case, life never comes from matter. It is taught by the foolish that scorpions are born out of rice, but actually the scorpions lays its eggs within the rice, and by the fermentation or heating of the rice, the eggs incubate, and scorpions are born. But this does not mean that matter itself is producing life. The Vedas accept the fact that living creatures can arise from fermentation, but this is only because the soul finds refuge there. Shama Sundar. But what of the idea that nature is progressing? Will man someday evolve to the demigod stage? Srila Prabhupada. According to the Vedas, the demigods were created before man. First, Lord Brahma was created, and from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva was created. By created, I mean born. Similarly, from Brahma, others came, the Prajapatis and the Manus. There were many. There is no question of these personalities emerging from inorganic life. Lord Brahma came from the navel of Vishnu. You may ask, what is the origin of Vishnu? We have no information of this, because Vishnu is the origin, and it was from him that Brahma and all other demigods came. Then the animals and others came. The first created being is Lord Brahma, and he is also the most intelligent. It is not that he evolved from animals or man. This evolutionists propose that life evolves from the lowest to the highest, but we believe that it begins with the highest, with Vishnu. Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, I am the origin of everything, Bhagavad Gita 10:8. How can you say that higher species will develop from the lower? God is the origin. Vedanta Sutra also says, the absolute truth is he from whom everything is generating. The absolute truth is the supreme life, and from him all life is coming. What evidence do we have of a dead stone giving birth to a man or animals? Okay, one more. Alexander felt that in the future, the race of man will evolve into superconscious beings, into demigods. Prabhupada, no, we have no information of this. Why is he so anxious about the planet Earth? These superconscious beings are already existing on Siddhaloka, Gandharvaloka, and many other higher planets. There are millions of planets with superhuman beings. From the Shastras, we learn that the inhabitants of Siddhaloka can fly from one planet to another without the aid of space vehicle. Shyamasundar. Alexander proposes that nature develops bodies to that point. Prabhupada. No, bodies never develop in that way. There are different types of bodies, and the soul takes shelter of a particular type. Selecting bodies just as a person selects clothes in a store. When we are within a suit, the suit moves. Bodies are selected according to the soul's desires. By your karma, you get a particular type of body. We have already discussed this. Shama Sundar Das. Then demigods will not evolve on this planet in the natural course of things. Prabhupada, no. Shama Sundar. How is genius accounted for? Prabhupada, when one is born a genius, he must understand that in his previous life he cultivated a particular faculty. Is it like that? What it even means? Let's see. An inherent mental or physical power. Faculty. And that knowledge is being manifested in this life. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that if a yogi does not complete the yoga process, he is given another chance. Bhagavad Gita 6:41. It is not that these things happen accidentally. Shama Sundar. Then, through the practice of yoga, a higher consciousness can be developed. Srila Prabhupada, yes. For instance, we are practicing Bhakti Yoga to develop Krishna consciousness. As far as your spiritual development is concerned, you must understand that you are a spirit soul. Then you can qualify yourself to return to the spiritual world. There you can associate with the Lord and engage in spiritual activities. The Shastras tell us that we should try for spiritual perfection and not waste our time endeavoring for material comforts. Material comforts and distresses automatically come. There is no need in wasting time striving for them. In nature, there are many millions of living entities without business or profession. Yet they are living, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. These things will come automatically. Our endeavor should be for spiritual emancipation. Okay, Haribol, who wants to continue reading? Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandat Pranam. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu.
Sam Sundar Das, according to Alexander, on the mental level, we are capable of enjoying objects and receiving pleasure from them, but cannot understand them as they are. On the higher level, we can contemplate objects and understand them as they are, as well as enjoy them. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, that is our philosophy. A common man may see a rose and think, oh, I will offer this nice flower to my girlfriend. But when a devotee sees a rose, he thinks how wonderfully God's energy is acting. He understands that it is through Krishna's energy that such a wonderful flower exists, and therefore he knows that the flower should be offered to Krishna After all, since Krishna produced it, it is Krishna's property. After offering the rose to Krishna, the devotee smells it. Then it is prasadam, the Lord's mercy. This is higher consciousness. Lower consciousness thinks, let me pick it and enjoy it. That is mere enjoyment without understanding. An animal eats just as man eats, but a man should have sufficiently developed consciousness to understand that what he is eating is given by Krishna. The Vedas state, Eko Bhunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. The Supreme Lord is supplying all necessities of life to everyone. Katha Upanishad 2.2.30. When one understands that Krishna is supplying everything, he thinks first, let me offer this to Krishna. If everything is not offered in sacrifice to the Supreme Lord, we will be entangled. Higher consciousness is mature consciousness. It is like a flower that has blossomed and is emitting a fragrance. That full blossom of consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Shyam Sundar Dasa. Alexander believes that the entire world is moving to that point. Well, nature is giving us the chance, but because we have independence, we may or may not take the opportunity. Shyama Das. Will only certain individuals attain that higher consciousness, or will the whole world attain it? That is a nonsensical question. Sometimes rascal inquiry Swamiji, if everyone becomes God conscious and goes back to Godhead, then who will remain here? What is the meaning of such a nonsensical question? Why is a fool anxious for everyone? Why is he not anxious for himself? It is the same to ask if everyone is honest, then who will go to jail? As if maintaining the jail is a very important business. Sam Sundar Das. During Alexander's day, people were very optimistic about man's future, thinking that everyone would be benefited by scientific discoveries. Srila Prabhupada. People think that by nature's way they will be promoted, that once they have attained the status of man, they cannot be degraded. But if one can go up, he can also go down. The rich can become poor again. Theosophists and others think that everything goes up, progresses. They don't even have the common sense to look around them. Hi, Kripadas. Alexander distinguished between deity and God himself. For him, deity is a relative term for the next highest level of existence. For an ant, a dog may be a deity. For a dog, a man may be a deity. For a man, a demigod may be a deity. Deity is always one evolutionary step ahead of us. Alexander defines God as the being which possesses deity in full. That is God. God is always one step ahead of every creature. Srila Prabhupada. He does not know that exact Vedic science of God, but as a philosopher, he is suggesting a very nice method. For an ant, a bird is a deity. For a bird, a cat is a deity, and so on according to one's position. And if you continue searching, you will find someone who has no one to worship. The gnat must worship the bird worship the cat, and so on. But when we arrive at the person who has no one to worship, we have arrived at God. In the lower stages, there are always higher living beings. But when we come to the highest living being, we come to God Himself. This is explained in Vedic literature. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin. And he is the prime cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya. Mai sarvam idam pratam sutre mani ganaiva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me. As pearls are strung on a thread. Bhagavad Gita 7:7. There is no authority superior to Krishna as long as one has a superior, he is no God, but a servant of God. Sam Sundar Das. Alexander believes that lower organisms strive to emulate higher. Animals strive to become like men, and men strive to become like gods. Srila Prabhupada. There is no question of striving. So what is the meaning of strive?
To try to do.
Krishna Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu.
It means to try to do.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, where is it?
Strive.
Make a great effort to achieve or obtain something. It's like struggle.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Struggle for existence. Yes, Prabhu. It is by nature's way that the lower animals come to the platform of men. The living entity evolves from one life form to another, but this is with the help of nature. This law holds up to the human platform. Having developed consciousness, the human being has the power of discrimination. Originally, the soul is given independence. Krishna tells Arjuna, whatever you like, you do. Bhagavad Gita 18:63. God is the super soul and we are the jiva, souls subordinate to him. Therefore, we are called tatastha, which means that we are marginal. We can go either way. We may take God's side or Maya's side. That is our choice. When we do not want to serve God, we are sent to Maya to serve her. Man's position as a subordinate remains the same, but in Maya, he thinks I am the master. This is just like a child trying to act against his father's wishes. When he is given a chance to do as he likes, the child thinks, oh, I am independent now. Actually, he is never independent, but he thinks that he is. When death comes, no one is independent. Although man is continually serves Maya life after life, he still thinks of himself as independent. Only when we surrender to Krishna do we enjoy our real independence. Syam Sundar Das. But don't lower forms try to emulate higher ones. Srila Prabhupada. That is natural. Everyone wants a higher position because everyone is trying to be master. That is the whole problem. One can be a master to some extent. A head clerk in an office, a president or a prime minister. There is much ambition in the material world because materialistic men are guided by the idea that I shall become like Krishna. When their efforts fail in the material world, they strive to merge into Krishna. This is Mayavadi philosophy. Not knowing that they are already Brahman, spirit soul, they consider themselves the supreme Brahman, God Himself. Therefore, they sit and meditate, thinking, I am moving the soul, I am moving the moon. This is simply imagination. This is the last, this is the last snare of Maya. Maya, first of all, allows us saying, become this, become that, become. Maya is always telling us to work under her direction. Finally, she says, now you have failed in all these things. It is better now that you can become God and attain your real status again. So the living entity begins to think I'm God, but Maya is still kicking him. As soon as this so-called God gets some uh, rotate, rotate, he runs to the doctor. He does not stop to think what kind of God I am. What am I? Syama Sundar Das. But what is that urge for promotion? It is not the individual's urge. Nature is giving the impetus. For instance, when you were a child, There are no sex urge, but when you attend adolescence, immediately the sex urge becomes manifest. Similarly, the perfection of consciousness is there, but unless you come to the platform of human life, it will not develop. Sham Sundar Das. Is there also an urge among lower animals to improve themselves to be promoted? Yes, Srila Prabhupada, yes. But all that is being carried out by nature. This is evolution. Darwin had taken this idea from the Vedas, but he had no idea for this of the soul. The only business of animals is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. You may call this the struggle for existence. They are simply trying to live. They have no other ambition. If a man have attained the human stage, is interested only in these things, he know better than an animal. Nowadays, these are being taught by modern civilization. They teach you how to live comfortably with a car, a bungalow, a girlfriend, and restaurants. All living entities in this material world have the propensity to enjoy. On one platform, the living entity enjoys certain types of pleasure, but he is always wanting more. It is the spirit of material enjoyment that brings about the disease of materialistic life. Sam Sundar Das. So the urge to advance is perverted by the urge to enjoy. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, perverted. The living entity's position is to serve Krishna. But instead he is serving his senses and thinking that he is enjoying. You can see how everyone is working hard day and night in order to enjoy. Everyone is thinking that he will be happy if he just become a millionaire. Animals work hard to get some food, and as soon as they acquire food, they are satisfied. But human beings are not so easily satisfied. They are so passionate that they are constantly working very hard to be happy. People do not understand that material life they cannot be happy in any position. Shyam Sundar Das. Can the urge to advance with the desire to become godly? Srila Prabhupada. Desire means that one has lost his real happiness, dancing with God like the gopis. Anandamaya Kashyap. The Vedanta Sutra says that by nature the living entity wants Ananda, bliss, because he seeks Ananda in a perverted way. He is confused and frustrated. Therefore, he thinks, not this state, but that will give me happiness. However, when he goes to his desired state, he again finds unhappiness. This is because he is seeking Anand in a perverted way. In Vaikuntha Loka, there is eternal happiness because everyone is surrendered to Krishna. In Vrindavana, all the cowherd boys, gopis, cows, trees, and other living entities are centered about Krishna. They are all concerned with making Krishna happy. Only on that platform will we avoid confusion and frustration. Shyam Sundar Das. Alexander said that at this point we cannot know the qualities of the next stage of evolution. He may not know, but we know. One who has Krishna as his master and teacher knows everything. Yasmin vigyante sarvameva vigyantam havanti. If you understand Krishna, you understand everything. Agrivadas. Again, concerning the conception of deity, which is so central, Alexander writes, the infinitude of God. God's deity marks the difference between him and all other empirical beings. Not only is God infinite in extent and duration, but his deity is also infinite in both respects. Srila Prabhupada. If God is infinite deity, he is not subject to created living beings. It's incorrect to think of God's deity as one of the deities within this material world. A person who thinks in this way is condemned as a mudha because I appear as an ordinary human being, Krishna tells us. Mudhas, Ashes consider me an ordinary man. Bhagavad Gita 9.11. Bhagavadas. Alexander states that God is both body and soul, and that his soul is his deity. All finites are included in him. He writes, and are fragments of God's body, though their individuality is not lost in it. God is an individual being just as man or any other finite is. Only that he is infinite. That is right. God is a person, but not like us. People mistake him to be like an ordinary human being. But this is due to illusion. Krishna is infinite and Arjuna is finite. It is explained in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna, being infinite, knows everything in the past, present, and future. Bhagavad Gita 4.5. That is one of the differences between an ordinary living entity and God. The living entity forgets, but God does not. Agripadas. Alexander sees God's body as neither spaceless nor timeless, for it is space time itself. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, since everything emanates from Him, there is nothing separate from Him. God includes everything. Everything is a part and parcel of God. The Mayavadis said that everything is one, but they do not accept the variety. The wheel is one, but there are different parts. The rim, the spokes, and the hub. Agripadas. Alexander writes, now the body of God is the whole universe, and there is nobody outside it. For therefore, all objects are internal, and the distinction of organic and special senses disappears. Srila Prabhupada. For the impersonalists who are not familiar with the personal form of God, Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita requested Krishna to show his universal form, the Virat Rupa. Arjuna himself was accepting the person Krishna, the Supreme, but he knew that those with a poor fund of knowledge would not accept him. For this reason, in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the universal form of the God is very elaborately explained. However, we should understand that since the universal form was shown by Krishna, Krishna is the originator. It is not that the universal form is the origin. They were manifested by Krishna, and Lord Krishna's natural form is that of Krishna himself. The universal form is a feature. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhava mattah sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Since everything emanates from him, the universal form had also emanated from him. One who understands this becomes Krishna's devotee. Agripadas. For Alexander, theism is equated with personalism and pantheism with impersonalism. He writes, for theism, God is an individual being, distinct from the finite beings which make up the world. For pantheism, God is eminent in the universe of things. Srila Prabhupada. When you cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead, God is impersonal. The sunshine is impersonal, but the sun god is in the background. Because we are on a lower platform, we cannot talk with the sun god. We can experience only the sunshine. Similarly, the expansion of God's energy is impersonal, but the personality is in the background. Because we are in the material energy, we are not in direct touch with God. Therefore, we say that God is impersonal. If we become devotee, we can talk with God in person, just as the cowherd boys and girls did in Vrindavan. He also stated, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Katha Upanishad 2.2.13. God is an eternal living being, and we are also eternal living beings. Yet, He is different from us in that He is the chief. He has arranged everything for us in the both the material and spiritual worlds. He has given us air, water, and fire in order to live. He is the maintainer, and we are subordinate jivas. Agirvadas. Alexander seems to acknowledge both theistic and pantheistic view. Now, what is the meaning of pantheistic view? Pantheistic?
They see as everything as God. The rock is a God, nature is God, tree is God. See, pantheism is the philosophical and religious belief that reality, the universe, and nature are identical to divinity or supreme entity. So they say everything in
And
nature.
everything is God.
Yes, Prabhu. I
Oh,
used to be like that, like this in the beginning. I remember when I found this philosophy like 8 years ago. I was amazed. I was thinking, "Oh, this is so right. Everything is God."
we God, He God, everything is God.
Yes, Prabhu.
Srila Prabhupada. Yes, as I said, because water had come from God, we say that it is God's seminar. Because light has come from Him, we say that the sun is His eyes. In that everything is an emanation from God. Everything is related to God. In any case, the impersonal features are subordinate to the personal. मया ततम इदम सर्वम जगत अव्यक्त मूर्तिना मतस्थानि मतस्थानि सर्वभूतानि च न चाहम तेस्वस्थितः. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Bhagavad Gita 9.4. Just like the sunshine depends on the sun itself, so the entire cosmic manifestation depends on God. Krishna said that although everything is resting on Him, He is personally not present. Queen Kunti also says, "You are within and without, yet fools cannot see you." These verses spoken by Queen Kunti are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Namasya Purusham Tvadyam Ishwaram Prakritehe Param Alaksham Sarvabhutanam Antara Bhairavasthitam Maya Javani Kachanam Agyadhokshajam Abvayam Na Lakshyase Mudha Drisha Nato Natyadharo Yatha Tatha Paramham Sanam Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartham Katham Pasyemahi Striha. O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything. Yet you are invisible to all, being beyond the range of limited sense perception. You are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognizable. You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we, women, know you perfectly? Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam 1.8.18 to 20. This is a very good example. Krishna is playing on the stage and his son is seeing him. And another friend is saying, "Do you see your father?" But the son does not recognize his father. A devotee can understand what a speculator with a limited sense perception cannot. Agrivadas. Alexander writes, "It is not so much that God is in everything, but rather that everything is in God." Srila Prabhupada. Since there is nothing but God, how can anything be without God? Since everything is God's expansion, How can we be sometimes with God and sometimes without Him? When we are not in God, we are in Maya. But Maya is also God's. The illusion to think that we are without God. I agree with us. After analyzing both theism and pantheism, the personal and impersonal, Alexander finds them both defective, defective in themselves. But he concludes if a choice must be made, it is theistic. Srila Prabhupada. This means that when one comes to the personal aspect of God, he sees that everything refers to God and that there is nothing independent. To the unintelligent, it appears that the cosmic manifestation is different from Bhagavan, but actually nothing can exist without the supreme personality of Godhead. I agree with that. At times, Alexander takes the Aristotelian view in maintaining that there is no reciprocal action from God. But though we speak as we inevitably must in human terms of God's response to us, there is no direct experience of God's response except through our own feeling. The devotion to God or worship carries with it its own satisfaction. Srila Prabhupada. This means that he does not understand God's omnipotence. God is omnipotent and he comes before Arjuna to speak Bhagavad Gita. Being all powerful, God can come and speak to his devotee. If he cannot, what is the meaning of his omnipotence? Krishna reciprocates with the advanced devotee. तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन माम् उपयन्ति ते. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I keep the understanding by which they can come to me. Bhagavad Gita 10.10. God talks to his devotees who is fully in love with him, but he does not talk with ordinary men. Next.
Yeah, one last page.
प्रेमाञ्जनचुरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्तः सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरम् अचिन्त्यगुणस्वरूपं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee, whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Syam Sundara situated within the heart of the devotee. Brahma Samhita 5.38. Just as a king talks with his immediate officers and ministers and not with the ordinary man in the street, God personally talks to his devotees, but not to the non-devotees or atheists. We understand that Krishna talked to the gopis and gopas in Vrindavana and reciprocated with his parents, Mother Yashoda and Maharaj Nanda. The cowherd boys who played with Krishna amassed and many pious activities in their previous lives to arrive at a position where they could play with God. This is not an ordinary position. People generally think that such play is inconceivable. But when we come to that platform of devotion, we can play with God, ride on God's soldier, and talk with Him just as with an ordinary friend. Of course, one comes to that position of perfection after many millions of pious births. I agree with us. Within the same book, Space, Time, and Deity, Alexander contradicts himself on this issue of reciprocation. God reciprocates the worship man pays him, and the confidence he reposes in him. He writes, there is always the double relationship of need. If man wants God and depends upon him, God wants man and is so far dependent. God is not dependent on anyone. God is independent. But that statement is acceptable in the sense that sometimes God wants to become dependent. That is according to his pleasure. Sometimes he accepts some of his devotees in ways that he can depend on them. He became dependent on Mother Yashoda just as an ordinary child becomes dependent on his mother. Although everything is dependent on God and he is not dependent on anyone, it takes pleasure in this kind of relationship. I agree with us. I don't think Alexander understood it in that way properly. This is not a very ordinary thing to understand. It cannot be understood by mental speculation. I agree with us. Alexander also writes that God Himself is involved in our hearts and their issues. Not only does He matter to us, but we matter to Him. Is this actually so? Srila Prabhupada. Yes, although we are sons of God, we are fallen conditioned souls and are suffering. Therefore, God is very compassionate and He comes personally to teach us. He says, why are you rotting in this material world? Surrender to me and go back to God. Then you will be happy. God is the father of everyone, and it is natural for a father to be concerned about his sons. Presently, we are conditioned by material nature because we are disobedient. God, being the supreme father, feels for our suffering, but he is not suffering. The devotee of God also feels for the conditioned souls, and Krishna's devotees are very dear to him because they are trying to spread his instructions, Bhagavad Gita. The devotees are acting on the behalf of God to deliver the conditioned souls.
Haribol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for
Hari bol. Thank you so much for very nice lyric.
yes, this is really
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Tandat Pranam, Jai Shla Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhu, Dhanan Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावादूजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मा स्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम्
नामकारी बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पित नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः कृतादर्शी तव कृपा भगवन्मवापि दुर्दैवमिदृशं विहाजनिनानुरागः
Trinadapi
Trina,
Sunishena. Continue, please continue.
okay. Trinadapi Sunishena, Taranat api Sahisnuna, Amanina Manatena, Kritanya Sada Hari.
हरि बोल
Nadanam Nadanam Nasundaran Kavitham Va Jagadish Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhagavad Bhaktare Heitu Kitvai.
ऐनन्दतनुजा किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवां बुधौ कृपाय तव पादपङ्कजास्तितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
Nayanam Galada Ashrudaraya, Pradhanam Gatkata Rudaya Gira, Pulakairini Chitam Vapur Kada, Dvavanam Garani, Bahai Vishyate.
विवाहितं निमिषेण चक्षुषा प्रापशायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दाविरहेण मे
अश्लिष्य वा पादरतं पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनान्मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विधातुलं पतो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः Haribol. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and those you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
Haribol. Who's gonna continue?
Okay, only continue. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharajananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. So yet some or other I fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, some considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Haribol, Sri Siksastakam Ki Jai.
Hari Bol, Jai.
Okay, let's read the 10 offenses to the holy name in a normal way. First offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name.
Second offense to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be unequal to the name of the Lord Vishnu.
Third
To
offense.
disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
Hari Bol.
Yes, very nice.
And considering the spiritual master as an ordinary person.
Yes, Brahma.
Fourth offense, you can continue, bro. Like to consider Vedic literature.
I think
Consider,
to blaspheme. To blaspheme.
Oh, okay, sorry. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature perseverance with the Vedic version.
Yes,
To
Brahma.
consider the glories of number 5, right? We go for number 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
Yes, Prabhu.
Very
Fifth
well.
one is sixth one. What is sixth one? Interpretation.
To give some
To give some
wounded.
Yes, to give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord.
And the 7th is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
Yes, Prabhu.
I think.
Is eighth one to consider the chanting of the holy name to be one of the auspicious ritualistic mentioned in the Karma Kanda. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities that are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities. Karma Kanda. 9.
Ninth one to to explain or what to
Instruct.
instruct the person about the glories of the holy name.
Haribo. 10th of
Last one is
to not have faith in
to
chanting and to
do
maintain
not have
materialistic attachments even after knowing so much about these topics. Und,
yes, Prabhu,
oh, it's
on this matter.
yeah, it matters. It is
Right.
also an offense to be an inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against this
Haribo.
in order to quickly achieve this desired success.
Yeah, success. Krishna
Okay.
Prema.
And
Haribo.
हरि बोल पंचतत्व की जय श्री कृष्ण
Jai.
चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय नित्यानंद प्रभु
Jai.
प्रभुपाद की जय
Jai.
गौर प्रेम
Jai.
हरि
Hari
बोल
Haribo.
Jai.
Jai. Thank you so much, Prabhu.